Well, 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 look how they turn tables. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about an NBC News poll that shows President Donald Trump is leading young voters over Joe Biden by a 4-point margin. Now, this is in stark contrast to exit poll data from the 2020 presidential election, where Joe Biden was leading that same group by 20 points. So Biden leading the group 20 points 2020. Now 2023, he's losing that same group by 4 points to President Trump. Now, when you're talking about this age group, NBC News defines it as 18 to 34. That's a pretty big group. You got a lot of your Gen Z in there, all your adult Gen Zs in there, and then a lot of millennial in that age group. This is a group that a lot of times tend to vote liberal because they're just trying to get into their positioning politics wise. They don't really know a lot. And as they get to be older and they learn more, a lot of times they become more conservative. That's just kind of how it is. But in this group, Biden is losing to Trump by 4 points when he was winning by 20 points. And there's quite a few reasons why it's happening. I would venture to say the economy is probably the chief reason. Okay. Inflation is through the roof. You can't get a decent job that pays enough to live not in a ghetto. Okay. If you don't want to have roaches as roommates, it's difficult when you're 25 years old trying to work out here with regular skills, going to college. College is expensive. Housing is expensive. Food's expensive. Everything's expensive. And there's quite a few more reasons why it's happening. And before I go any further into it, let's get into the news clip. In this clip, you're going to hear from young voters, and they're going to tell NBC News why their focus is shifting off of Biden, maybe onto Trump, maybe onto a third party, maybe just somewhere else other than the pawpaw we got in office right now. And if you want to see the clip info without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Just 4 weeks until the 2024 primary season kicks off, and in one key battleground, President Biden is getting big warning signs from a group that helped him win in 2020. Shaquille Brewster spoke to some young voters in Wisconsin.
I voted for Biden, and I told my friends to as well.
Evan McKenzie is a Starbucks worker and union organizer in Madison, Wisconsin, who cast his very first presidential ballot for Joe Biden.
Do you plan on voting for him?
So a Starbucks worker and a union organizer, he'd be the guy. This right here, in my opinion, is the face of Gen Z. In my opinion, if you guys think differently, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective.
Cast his very first presidential ballot for Joe Biden.
Do you plan on voting for him this time around?
No, not anymore.
The 23-year-old was part of the surge in young voters in the liberal Dane County that helped Biden flip the battleground state 3 years ago. He's now angry at the president over his support for Israel's invasion of Gaza.
He is allowing this war to happen. And
I think this was a miscalculation by people on the left. They thought this would be a thing that the left in the United States would agree on and they'd be right with him, but it's not been the case. This does not have support on a bipartisan thing. Like it's very controversial, not much support on either side.
And is funding this war. I don't know what will happen if I don't vote for him, but I know it won't be me supporting that.
In 2020, Election Day exit polls showed young voters backed Biden over Donald Trump by more than 20 points. But a recent NBC News poll shows former President Trump leading this group by 4 percentage points, and President Biden at risk of losing a key part of his winning coalition.
Do you plan on voting for him in November?
I don't know.
60% of young voters say they oppose more funding and military aid to Israel.
On climate, on COVID responses, you could tell his administration were doing really great work. But I think after October 7th, the question became a matter of human rights.
Republican presidential.
And you know what? The thing about October 7th, human rights, again, that's very controversial all over the country. The Democrats might think, we got to support Israel, but it's not quite that way all the way around.
Candidates have also vocally supported Israel's campaign against Hamas, but it's President Biden's young progressive base that's been increasingly sympathetic to Palestinians.
Did all of you vote for Biden in 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Supporting Mr. Biden is a conversation, sometimes a debate, that this group of Wisconsin friends say they are now having regularly.
He has the largest infrastructure bill since Eisenhower. I mean, that's a huge thing.
Not enthused. I'd say overall I feel very pragmatic and strategic about it. In 2020, I looked at Biden like a used car. Like, it will disappoint me. It's not going to have leather seats, and it's not going to have all the stuff that I want. But I mean, hopefully it'll get me from point A to point B.
They don't like this guy. People voted for him because they were afraid of the other person, and they thought they had to vote for him. And he was given some promises that he did not actually follow through on, of course. We'll get to that in a moment.
And I think he did that.
An easy choice for some.
What's the best argument that you have for young voters to support Joe Biden?
The other guy is way worse.
See,
It's that simple.
I think it is.
Young voters who can tip the balance in 2024 already weighing their options.
and there's more here. They kind of cut that video up a little bit. There's more from that segment that we're going to get into because there's a few things that we need to address. Some things that Biden has promised that he didn't actually follow through on.
Give me the emotion that you have looking at your choice this election.
Not enthused. I'd say overall I feel very pragmatic and strategic about it.
You can say that Joe Biden's, he's not as progressive as you'd like, or he's not this, he's too old. I mean, the guy is at least reasonable and has some sort of logic to what he does. All of these issues that are popular with Democrats, he has not only not addressed, but often gone the entire opposite way on.
If the election were tomorrow, what would you do?
I could not bring myself to vote for Trump. But
Look at that mask. I mean, good grief. Look at that mask. Okay, this person with this crazy big mask on is saying, I can't vote for Trump, but
it would be the first time, I think, if I had to choose tomorrow, it would be the first time I think I'd vote for someone else, like third party.
Even if I'm not enthused to effectively elect my grandpa a second time, boy, do I want to keep the other guy out.
And that's kind of like the vibe. That's the vibe. People don't like Biden, but they are afraid of Trump. That's the thing. I mean, people, they might like what Trump did. I think people liked life under Trump. They enjoy what they were able to. They enjoyed the lower inflation. They enjoyed not having the southern border be wide open. They enjoyed what they experienced under Trump, but they're afraid of him because of what the mainstream media has done, what they've been told by outside sources. Under Biden, they're just not getting anything. They were told that they would have student loan repayment, student loan forgiveness. That didn't really happen. Oh, ABL, I got my student loans forgiven. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the student loan debt bubble, the 1.6, 1.7 trillion being wiped away. Okay. He might have wiped away $50 billion, 50 billion with a B, but that ain't nothing. Okay. You still got a few trillion more. You still got a future, you still got the 1.6. 1.6 trillion, that's what? 1,600 billion. So if you wipe away 50 billion, that's nothing. If your debt is 1.7 trillion and you take away 50 billion, you're still gonna be right at the 1.7. So it's like you didn't do anything. You did nothing. And these young voters are able to understand that. The climate change situation, I'm no fan of that, but that's a thing. Israel, Hamas, that's very controversial. The economy, of course, things are very expensive. Inflation going through the roof. So in Wisconsin specifically, what was a 20-point advantage for Joe Biden has now become a 4-point advantage. And what is he going to do in between now and the election to make that up? We're still trying to expand the war effort. We're trying to go to Taiwan. So not only are we dedicated to what's happening with Ukraine and Russia still, we're dedicated to what's happening with Israel, Palestine, Hamas still, and we're trying to go into Taiwan. Plus, the economy's not getting any better. The inflation's getting no better. He's not going to cancel student loan debt. So what does he have to hang his hat on? Nothing, really. So this issue will just get worse, not only in Wisconsin, but throughout the entire country. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to the youngins who are understanding that Biden is not the guy that they want. They want someone else. I hope they just go in favor of Trump. And again, the poll said that the 20-point lead for Biden is now a 4-point lead for Trump. So hopefully the majority of those who are disillusioned from Joe Biden, they don't like Joe Biden. Hopefully they go the other direction and vote for Trump. And that same pattern is happening all over the country. That's what I hope, at least. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on the young voters here? Do you think that they're going to vote for President Trump, President Biden, somebody else in Wisconsin, Iowa, Florida, Texas, California, New York? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think this is going to be an election where Joe Biden loses because he has no support. During the scamdemic, it was a whole different time. He was able to campaign from the basement, and people didn't know what he would do as a president by himself. I mean, most of us understood what he would do as a Democrat and an Obama acolyte. We already know what's going on. But people who didn't know any better didn't know any better. Young people who are just now turning 18, they didn't experience the Obama administration. Like, they don't know what's going on. So then they see Joe Biden in action, and they see he's 1,000 years old, stumbling, bumbling, and not doing a good job. They want to go a different direction. Simple as that. So hopefully, again, they go for Trump, and we get him back in 2024. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.